Good evening. I'm Mayor Javier Figueroa, and I'm calling the regular meeting for the City of University Place Council for Monday, March 4th, 2024 to order. And with that, I'd like to have the city clerk do the roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Boykin,
Here.
Councilmember Worthington,
Present.
Councilmember McCluskey. Here. Councilmember Fleming,
Here.
Councilmember Grassi. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Wood,
Present.
Mayor Figueroa.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. And will Councilmember McCluskey give us the honor for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we're going to, I'd like to have a motion to approve the agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
And I do like to, we do have a presentation. We have the young lady that we're presenting a very special recognition. She's still doing some duties at school. And I'd like to, when she does arrive, to fit her in at the time where we may be. But I'd like to continue our agenda. So I'd like to amend our agenda as so. Anyone second?
Yes. Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the agenda with the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, agenda approved. And now with that, we're going to skip number 5, the presentation, and we'll come back to that when she does arrive.
They're here.
Oh, well, we'll take a long breath. Okay. And we'll just take a nice little long breath, and we'll be fine. I'm going to let her catch her breath. And it's fine. Okay. So item number 5, the presentation is our very own Daffodil Princess from Curtis High School. And it's a recognition of her accomplishment of being selected as such. And her name is Lydian Eklund. And just as a side note is that our very own, her dad is our very own special grants person that has been a superhero for us and getting us grants, and that is Jack Eklund. Is your mom here today? No? Okay. So we're going to go, I'm going to go and do, and she's accompanied by Curtis High School principal. Oh, is Thomas Adams here? No? Okay. And Dana Garnett, which is a Daffodil coordinator. Dana, right? Okay. So I'd like to do the proclamation to her with the rest of the council. I think it'd be appropriate for this occasion if you go down there with me. And also Jack Eklund, if you would join us as well, please. Lydian, would you come up here? Well, put your front and center here. Right about right here. Okay. Hi, how you doing? Good. Nice meeting you. Oh, come on, don't be fast. Please, join us. Oh, come on over here. And if Mel can come over here next to her, because she has this beautiful flower she's going to give you at the end. And a little bit more. Okay, we're all good. You know, Jack, since you're the dad, please honor me being over here. This is a special occasion for you and your daughter. And I'll just fit right in here, okay? We have a proclamation here for you, Lydian. And the City of University Place proclamation. Whereas the City of University Place is blessed with outstanding young people who excel in many different endeavors. Whereas the City Council of the City of University Place would like to formally recognize and congratulate Curtis High School student Lydian Eklund for being selected as this year's Daffodil Princess. Whereas Lydian Eklund is a volunteer tutor and member of the Curtis Girls and Women in Sports Group and the National Honor Society. She has been a Girl Scout for 12 years and is working towards earning her Girl Scout Gold Award. Whereas Lydian is active in sports at Curtis High School, including girls' gym and dive team. She is the quarterback and team captain of the Curtis girls flag football team and the team captain and two-time state champion on the girls water polo team. She is also the head manager for both the boys water polo team and the boys swim team. Whereas Lydian shares her passion for music by playing the violin in the Curtis High School Philharmonic Orchestra as well as in the Pitt Orchestra for the school musicals. Whereas Lydian has completed 7 AP courses at Curtis and was awarded the AP Scholar with Distinction Award for Excellence. Lydian plans to pursue a degree in aerospace engineering, and therefore the City Council of the City of University Place hereby extends its congratulations to Curtis High School student Lydian Eklund for achieving the title of the 2024 Daffodil Princess and wishes her well in her future endeavors. Proclaimed by the City Council of the City of University Place on March 4th, 2024, signed by Mayor Javier Figueroa. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations. So before we have you do this speech, just about a 15-minute, okay? I did ask your coordinator, because I know everything has to go through her, and she said that you were just super sharp and answering any question I might give you. And I have a really tough one. So before we do that, I'd like to have your dad, Jack, if you can put this pin on her, on behalf of the City Council, anywhere you feel. Well, that's okay. He deserves to be nervous. If it was my daughter, I'd be nervous. But, this is a really special occasion to have a young person in University Place to achieve what you have achieved. The amount of work, all of us have achieved so many things in our lives. And so we do know what it means to achieve not just one thing, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 at a high level. And that really says a lot about your desire to do well, and not just well for yourself, but for the community. And that's what really counts. And so I want to take the privilege here, Council, because I know that we all are part of University Place, and we all care about Curtis High School young students. And I'm going to give each one of you, please, 10 seconds to say thank you and say something special to this young lady. We'll start here.
Thank you. Well, congratulations, Lee. Thank you for representing us so well. We really appreciate that. You're a great addition in our community. Thank you.
I just cannot tell you how excited I am. I really am. Having had a daughter who's walked in your shoes, it's pretty impressive. And I was sharing with the council before the meeting tonight really what it's required to be a Daffodil Princess. It's not a beauty contest, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and especially on the academic side of things. So congratulations. We're so proud of you. Onward to greater things. So this is awesome. Thanks.
Thank you for representing us so well, and your outer beauty and your inner beauty and your strength and all the hours that no one ever sees and all the dreams. Your best days are ahead of you, and every time I drive down and I see the daffodils this year, I'm going to think of you and all of the beauty you represent for our city. So thank you.
No, Jack is last. You're not getting away.
Lillian, thank you so much. You are continuing a wonderful tradition of just excellence. Excellent, distinctive ways in which you have shown up and ways in which you have made us already proud. And I can only imagine what's going through your father's head. And so you are just a jewel Please continue to be wonderful and great, and we are just so excited to join you on this journey. Thank you.
Hey, Lillian, congratulations on representing UP as a Daffodil Princess. And engineering. I wonder where you got those genes from. Good choice, I'm sure, from the old dad. And also, you're well-rounded. You're involved in sports. Academically, it sounds like you're amazing. You're a forward thinker. You're a game changer. I think our world is going to be notably different with you in it. So thank you for all your hard work and all your future endeavors.
Well, Lillian, congratulations. And got to say, it's been my honor to know your family for so many years. I remember you about yay high. And in between, as you come up to now, and the person you've become is just amazing. Thank you.
Okay, Jack. Mr. Eklund, Director of Engineering. We all know what it means to be a dad, and mom, and to be a parent. And certainly, it takes a lot for a child to grow up as Princess. It's Lily. Do you go by Lily? Okay, so may I? Princess Lily. It's you and her mom and you have worked very hard and very, very focused to bring up such a fine human being, a fine young child, and becoming an adult. And we appreciate you for that, because we know what it takes to do that. And thank you for you and your wife as well. And with that, if you can just give a few words to your daughter in behalf of all of us.
Well, first thing I want to mention, this isn't the first time Lily has been up here at City Council. I don't know, Councilmember McCluskey, if you remember, when she's about this tall, she received I think it was for the Girl Scout anniversary thing, the proclamation for the Girl Scouts. So she's an old hand at this here. I think she was probably about 4 then. Yeah, that's right. But I just can't be more proud of all the accomplishments Lily does. And I'm not sure where she gets it from. She far exceeds either her mother or I. She's always amazes us every day. So good job with all this stuff you do, and we love you.
So we warmed you up, hopefully. So I'm going to ask this one question, and your coordinator said that I could, and she thought that you would just be right on it. And that is, you lived in UP all your life. You've done so many things. What is the number one accomplishment you would like to see our city do as a council, as city government, and just see our city change? Just one thing, what would that be?
I think that one thing our city could do that would positively impact the community is involve the students at Curtis High School and our other schools more in city government and teach them more about what's going on, maybe have more volunteer programs or job shadow opportunities, because I know a lot of students really care about our community and they would love to learn more about the amazing things that go on around here. I think
that would have won the queen position in my mind. Okay, so I think we want to take a group photo, right?
We're thinking we'll take one like this, and then we'll make the coordinator come up as well, right? Okay, everybody look this way. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take a couple because you never know. Okay, now let's have you Okay. 1, 2, 3. Wait a minute. Sorry. Just trying to make sure we're all in focus. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're good. Thank you.
Congratulations, and thank you so much. We were told what we were doing. Something about playing poker? I'm just kidding. Okay, thank you, Princess Lily. Made our night. We'll move on to our item number 6, public comments. And with that, I think there's going to be a screenshot of the public comments direction. And we're now in this portion of the agenda, and there is an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments to the City Council about any items not appearing on the agenda or in the consent agenda. Any members of the public would like to come up and speak that are present? Seeing none, City Clerk, is there anyone online? None? Okay, thank you.
No one online, Mayor.
Oh, one online?
No,
Oh,
no
excuse
one.
me. Okay, so there's none online, and with that, we'll close the public comment section and move on to the 7A, the consent agenda. And I'd like to have a motion to approve or amend the consent agenda as proposed.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Have a second? I'll second that.
Thank you. And all in favor of the consent, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Consent agenda approved. With that, we'll go to item number 8, and that is the city manager and council comments and reports. City Manager Steve Sugg.
Mayor, Council, thank you. I'm pleased to report this evening that the Community Outreach Officer position, which was approved by voters last May, has been filled. We made an offer, and it's been accepted by retired Sergeant Corey Shears. So he's coming out of retirement. He'll trade one uniform for another. And his first start date will be March 25th. So again, this information came to me last week, and so I'm very pleased to report I've told a number of you individually during our meetings that I have every 2 weeks, and last week I had several meetings. But I wanted to report that publicly, and then it'll be in our newsletter as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we'll go to City Council, and we'll just start with my left and Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. I got nothing to report today.
Okay,
Doing good.
Councilmember McCluskey.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a lot to report, just that I was with Mr. Brisky and also Councilmember Boykin. We toured the Alta complex inside and out and all the way around, got an opportunity to ask the developer all sorts of questions, and he certainly is passionate about our community and wants to incorporate some of the theme-driven University Place-ish, Puget Sound-ish things in his design concept to include the octopus as well. So there's an octopus mosaic by the pool, and just so happens it's in Kraken colors. But it's beautifully done and designed, and if you haven't had the opportunity to tour that facility, I recommend you do that, because then you'll see some of the council policies in place that we had voted to approve. There's probably some tweaking to do, but otherwise it's a high-end quality project that we should be proud of, especially once the trees and foliage start growing. I'll end my report. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can remind the council, move their mics up so everybody can hear it, especially the city clerk, who needs to make sure recording is taken. Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I hope you can hear me. I had a pretty exciting week. I am appreciative of Council Member Kluski sharing about the site visit that we had with Director Kevin Brisky. I would concur that Alta University Place offered some real strong amenities. It gave us a chance to see really policies in action, really being impactful in terms of what it is that we thought we might see, and then getting a chance to see it shared by their team and staff. That was a real treat for me. Also got an opportunity to enjoy the Chambers Bay Distillery. I didn't get the opportunity for a photo op, so I'm a little disappointed in that. But that's all me, trying to do a little bit too much at the same time, but really enjoyed meeting the proprietors for Chambers Bay Distillery and being part of the ribbon cutting effort. I think it is one more wonderful business in University Place that we can be excited about and enjoy for many, many years to come. The Commission Appreciation Luncheon, that was just fantastic. It gave us a chance to see commissioners share what was on their mind. Mayor positioned the expectation of what was the number one thing for the commissions to talk about and center. I thought that was ideal. It gave us a chance to really talk about how communication can flow and what the impacts are based upon those commissions, and then really see our own efforts come to the forefront. So was excited about that as we begin to move into our retreat mode as a council. And lastly, got an opportunity to enjoy the Puget Sound Regional Council. Really loved being at that event. It was an opportunity for new electeds to engage. It's a regional planning workshop in terms of how it was positioned, and just had a wonderful time, mostly because I've got a chance to enjoy that space one more time with Councilmember Grassi, who is just a delight at all times. I can be in learning environments, and we can share and represent University Place. So it's just a really good activity for me, and just enjoyed it immensely. That's all I have. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Grassi?
Well, I'd like to thank Councilmember Boykin for that nice recommendation of spending time with me. But it was an honor to represent our city together at Puget Sound Regional Council, and what a time to again learn as a newly elected. It's been just vital for me to be in those spaces, to learn so much, and to make new connections for our city. So that was a highlight. Also, the ribbon cutting at Chambers Bay Distillery. What a special event, and again, congratulations to the group that made that happen, partners, and what a highlight for our city to be open. The Commissioners' Luncheon was wonderful. I want to say a thank you publicly again to all of our commissioners who serve and take time out of their schedules and their lives and times away from their family to make our city better. I think we can't emphasize that enough, what their time and their hours mean to our city. And also, finally, I want to remind everyone it's Girl Scout cookie season, which has been a highlight. I was able to purchase some down at Green Furs, but also it's International Women's Day on Friday and Women's History Month this month. So it's so apropos that we have our Daffodil Princess here as celebrating one of our star women in our community. But I also want to say congratulations to Councilmember McCluskey as a woman in leadership, and all of the women here and business owners in our city. It's a special month to recognize our unique strengths that we bring to this city and community. So thank you.
Councilmember Fleming?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just once again want to congratulate Lily on being the princess for our community and our schools. And again, what an exciting adventure you've started out on for this one. You'll just remember that for the years to come. My report's really short. Attended SHAPE last week, was appointed to their ad hoc committee for the advisory board that is now being interviewed and established there. And it was a very short meeting, but that's pretty much it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things I wanted to touch on. Let's see. I wasn't able to attend the luncheon for our commissioners, so that was sounded like a very well done event and a good turnout. And I was sorry to miss that. But in lieu of that, I did attend the Association of Washington Cities preparatory meeting for the National League of Cities Congressional Caucus, or conference rather. And so they laid out some of the messaging and some of the key legislative points, and then opened up some other resources for us to be ready with our upcoming trip to D.C. And so it was a chance to coordinate with their activities, of course, and also see some of the other delegates from Washington state cities that will be there. In addition to that, I wanted to mention about CORE. So this is as council knows, CORE is involved with helping maintain the city's orchard, the current apple orchard, and they coordinate volunteers, and they have 2 more pruning Saturdays coming. So if you have an open Saturday and an urge to take clippers to a tree, it's a great way to do it. Weather's getting better. I think this will be the 5th or 6th weekend in a row, and some of those have been a little cool. But I think with any luck, our weather's warming up, and it should be a fun way to spend a early spring, we'll call it, chance to make the orchard just a little bit better. Also, speaking of making it better, there's an opportunity to adopt a tree, and for a relatively small fee, it's around $50. You can adopt a tree and help prune it, and then later in the year, in late August, there is a now that has evolved into a cider squeeze for tree adopters only. You'd be part of that, and a chance to harvest fruit and enjoy the squeezins. And you can also, for a little bit more money, have someone else prune the tree for you. But it's a good way to connect to the community. So CORE has that available, and then you can access that from the city's website or other resources for CORE. And then finally, or in addition, I was glad to attend the ribbon cutting with Chambers Bay Distillery. Lots of good fun, and along with distilled spirits, they also have some pretty good food, I thought, and nice snacks, and I'm partial to their mixed nuts they have there, so anyhow. But they have other good things as well, including sandwiches and such. So enjoyed that, and look forward to seeing folks there and around the community as the weather gets better. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to continue with Mayor Worthington's comments about the Chambers Bay Distillery, what's interesting to me, it was great, well attended. We had 3 economic development commissioners there, and they all I gave them all a chance to speak and on behalf of our business development in the city. But what was of interest is the owners, their part is 2 owners, and one of them was a couple, and they do live in UP, which is always nice to see that. But also this particular business, this is their retail flagship store, but they've been in University Place for 15 years as a distillery. And so very much been invested in UP for a long time. So that was great to hear. The other one is the commission luncheon. As we will later talk today about our retreat, that luncheon was meant to be a kickoff and receiving input from our commissioners that would help us into strategizing what those council goals should be. And staff, the senior staff or the liaisons to those commissions will be following up with those commissioners the next 2 weeks to be able to bring forth a clean version of those ideas for us to incorporate in our brainstorming towards the council goals. And it was really well attended. I think we had like 24 commissioners, pretty close. And so with that, I also would like to, again, since Princess Lily is still here, I did hear you loud and clear. Your coordinator was correct, what the input that you gave. And I know that when you're a princess and how you represent our community and Curtis High School, people listen. And I just want to let you know that those words that you gave today, I listened. I know the rest of the council did. So I would like to encourage you to submit through maybe your dad, Jack Eklund, just a few ideas, recommendations where we may be able to start that conversation and the group or the individual to get us going in that direction. Okay? Thank you. And with that, I'm going to move on with the study session. At this point, we're done with the regular meeting and moving on to the study session. And the first item is number 9, and that is a report and termination of City Council Vision Subcommittee, and a staff member will be presenting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Matt Kaser. I am your city attorney. This was a follow-up item from the council's January retreat. In the course of that retreat, as council may recall, the issue popped up to what extent we should ultimately deal with the vision subcommittee. Just to reorient council, back in July of 2018, council set up two subcommittees, the vision subcommittee and then a 25th anniversary celebration subcommittee. And then both committees subsequently met. Although the primary focus of tonight's discussion is the vision subcommittee, it did occur as we were preparing the materials. We are now on the 4th anniversary of the 25th anniversary. And that subcommittee still exists on the books. At some point, we may want some direction whether that comes off the books or not. But be that as it may. But with respect to the vision subcommittee, as noted, council did establish the vision subcommittee. The authorizing resolution back from that time frame is in your packet. Both of those two subcommittees consisted of 3 council members. 2 of the council members associated with the vision subcommittee are currently on the dais. The subcommittee met a number of times. I had encapsulated in the staff report just the brief excerpts going through the various report outs associated with that. 2 from various retreat where those were extended discussions. And then what appeared to be, at least from an initial read, what could have been a final report out back in October of 2020. And then at least my review of council meeting minutes didn't show anything after that date. But the question for the council ultimately is a council level decision. To what extent council sees the utility need / value, however you wish to phrase it, associated with the vision subcommittee. And respectfully, I believe that's probably a question that best part of a discussion with council. So with that, setting the stage, if there's any specific questions, I'm happy to field those, but with that, I'm happy to yield back to council.
Just to clarify, you're requesting that after this for a consideration to dissolve the committee?
That
what
was
would be the actual action you want from us?
I think it's what action does the council want? I had prepared a draft resolution if that was the direction that council wanted to go. And that seemed to be the suggestion of where the discussion at the retreat seemed to be. But no decision obviously had been made at the retreat. With respect to the 25th, we probably should dissolve that one.
So with that, council, I believe that we've talked about this several times in various times that it was time to dissolve this committee, and I think it's time to, it's one of those things we just need to clean up. So anyone else? Oh, Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Matt, these are dated resolutions, so tell me what the value, if any, of continuing that on the books.
Ultimately, it takes it off the books, and then annually when council goes through the process of identifying what council staff assignments are, it gets that part cleaned up where we don't have that discussion. The other utility is every so often there, at least let me focus on the vision piece. The discussion, and it's a discussion that council has had from time to time. To what extent do we see the need in a city vision, a city mission, and how do you focus that discussion? Okay. And that's at least I think from the staff side where the utility certainly on the visioning committee lie.
So the value to the city for these 2 resolutions is none, so it makes more sense to remove it now. And then in the future, when we go down the road and we want to revision the city or revisit, celebrations or what have you, we can bring it back.
Stand another one up, yeah.
Okay, makes sense to take it off. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor Figueroa. And essentially, I can completely agree with Councilmember Fleming that we've crafted these 2 committees in preparation for a celebratory event, our 25th anniversary. And we were using some forethought and spending some time to get ready for that. Now, unbeknownst to us, there was a pandemic and life changed, and it wasn't the time to get hundreds, if not thousands of people together for a celebration. Nor was the vision of the future exactly clear what it would be like. And so we ended up stepping away from these things because we had a different set of priorities that had been thrust upon us. I think I actually, I chaired the Vision Committee. I had the good help of Councilmember McCluskey and Councilmember Keel at the time, along with a good deal of help from the staff. And there's some things that really did come out of that committee. Principally, Flash Vote was one of them. And it got us familiar with how to use Flash Vote. I think it's been a good tool for us to test public interest, and we continue to use Flash Vote today. And if we go back in history, we can look and see what some of those findings were. We did do basically a summary report in October, and that I think gave us some conclusions. We should sunset the committee. It was meant to be a task force. The only change I would add is let's get rid of the celebration committee, because I think we're a few years past our 25th anniversary celebration, and gosh, do we really need that? So I would encourage us to include that in the terminating resolution. So thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember McCluskey.
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with both council members' comments, with one caveat. Even though there was a summary outcome, we really didn't identify, do we need to change the city's overall visioning? Shall we keep the visioning as it has been since the beginning of the cityhood, which seems to have served us quite well? It seems like the council members at that time were content to sort of leave it be. There was no further discussion on circling back around or revisiting anything. I do concur with Councilmember Worthington that the Flash Vote was a very significant tool for us to use, and we continue to use that today to hone, give a little thumbprint of what our community is thinking, giving us some guidelines and forethought in the direction that we need to take the city. So at this time, I don't see any enthusiasm on the council to continue visioning and coming together when we are able to have a gathering of our community at Deck Days. And so I think it's the bow that's almost tied, but not quite tied to its pretty little bow. But it always doesn't have to be a pretty little bow to make it good. So I'll conclude my comments then.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so with that, I do like to add another comment. I do agree with Councilmember Worthington as well, is that we should add in this cleanup work to dissolve the celebration committee. And as always, council members, we need to give clear direction to staff to what are we asking them to do. And I'd like to, as anyone opposes, it would be that the action brought forward, and I'm asking two things, is one, that it'll be put in the consent agenda. I don't see why it needs to be a full consideration. It'd be put on the consent agenda, number one. Number two, that it would include dissolving the both the celebration committee as well as the vision committee. And anyone opposed? Any question as to direction?
None.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item number 10, Stormwater Management Program Update, with staff Jack Eklund, Public Works Director, and Todd Smith, NPDES Coordinator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. As you mentioned, I'm Jack Eklund, Public Works Director, and with me today is Todd Smith, our NPDES Coordinator. Tonight we're bringing to you for study our annual update to the city's stormwater management program. This is a condition of our NPDES permit. We're required to implement, develop, and annually update this program. The program itself lists the elements that are required under our NPDES permit, and then also identifies the actions, activities to be conducted by the city in order to meet the permit requirements. There are 11, they keep adding, now they're up to 11 program elements in in the program. Stormwater planning, public education outreach, public involvement and participation, mapping and documentation, illicit discharge detection and elimination, controlling runoff from new development, redevelopment, and construction sites, stormwater management for existing developments, source control program for existing development, operation, maintenance, monitoring, assessment, and reporting. In your packet, you'll see both our draft proposed update to our program, as well as a memo that summarizes in detail each of the requirements for those elements of how we're meeting it. Now, as this is a update to the plan, I'm not going to go into detail each of those sections, but rather just go over what our changes to the plan are this year. Now, first and probably most significant is the change is that we are about to enter a new permit cycle for our NPDES permit. So this July, our current permit will expire, and then effective August 1st, the new permit will be in effect, and that's for a new 5-year term. So that does mean that we've had to update our program to reflect the conditions of the new permit. And so a number of these things are a little more extensive than we're typically used to at the update time, but I'll run through them, and feel free to ask questions if you have needing more clarifications. So the first major change is in the stormwater planning section, and under this planning section, we're now going to be required during this new permit cycle to map and evaluate the city's tree canopy and come up with goals and policies that support stormwater management and water quality improvements of receiving waters associated with tree canopies. So with that, there's going to be some evaluations, some mapping. However, that's December 31st of 2028 in which we have to meet that goal. So we have a little bit of time on that. In the second section, public education and outreach, now there's not actually any specific changes to this, but I do want to highlight that we are continuing our partnership with the health department to bring back our series of natural yard care workshops this year, which have been very, very well attended and popular. And those we'll do them again online like we've had the last few years, but they are scheduled for April 10th, 17th, and 24th. So be sure to check those out. They're really pretty cool little workshops. Next section that we have anything new is in mapping and documentation, and there are two new requirements with that. One is what I just referenced with the tree canopy. We have some mapping requirements in which we have to map the tree canopy in the city and also denote the areas in which the city owns or has otherwise control over. Presumably in the next permit cycle, then that would imply that those are the areas that we can have impacts on, benefiting the tree canopy. One thing I do want to mention, we are in a good position with tree canopy because we are a very green city. We have a pretty well-established tree canopy. We have the benefit of a lot of open, kind of natural open spaces along the Leech Creek corridor and Chambers Creek corridor. So I feel pretty confident that we'll be able to meet whatever they require in that. But anyway, the other requirement is some further mapping of our stormwater system itself. So currently our stormwater system basically just, our map of it just shows where our pipes are, what the size of them are, where the water runs. Now, by December of 2027, we also have to identify and differentiate in our map the areas that actually have water quality treatment as well as flow control. So then that will then guide future improvements and water quality needs throughout the city. So that's a requirement by December of 27. Next, we go all the way down to the seventh element for something new, and that's a new element altogether. So the stormwater management for existing development. This is a purpose is to identify a strategic stormwater infrastructure improvements and retrofits that will have water quality benefits across the city and ultimately into our receiving waters. Under this element, we're required by March of 28 to budget a project that meets the goals and objectives and improves the stormwater runoff of at least about 3.5 acres in the city, which is not too big. But yeah.
Repeat that, please. How large an area?
3.5 acres.
Thank you.
So fortunately, we're already ahead of the game on this one. Last year when we did, as part of our stormwater comprehensive plan, and we did the stormwater surface water management fee update, we programmed in the capital needs that would meet this objective, and so we already have that financing model in place that will be well positioned to budget that by that 28 requirement. The next section is operation maintenance, and they have an emphasis under this permit cycle on street sweeping. And it's to have a fairly robust street sweeping program. Other good news on this, from the physical requirements, the amount of street sweeping, the frequencies, and that sort of thing, we're ahead of the game. We already meet or exceed the requirements in the permit from the street sweeping side of things. And the only thing that we're going to need to do by July of 27, so still a few years out, is to have a little bit more sophisticated program of how we track and document. They want to have us, right now we do track our lane miles and so forth of what we sweep and how frequently we do it, but they also will need to have a detailed kind of breakdown of the estimate of waste and material removed from the streets, and a little bit more detail on some of the type of sweeping and the hierarchy of the streets that we do. But from an actual program standpoint, we far exceed the requirements, which is nice. So with that is actually, those summarize the primary changes to the program. Now, before I open it up to the discussion up to further questions, I do want to mention for those watching at home that the public is invited to view our draft stormwater program on our city website. It is posted there, and also can provide comments to Todd at his email at tsmith@cityofUP.com or by his phone number at 253-460-5432. The public comment period is open through March 18th. And also, I'd like to encourage anyone in the public to attend and provide any comments at our upcoming March 18th City Council meeting, in which we'll be holding a public hearing to consider and adopt this plan. Moving on. So that concludes our report, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Before I start with the council, I'd like to just clarify what I think is important. Even though we are voting on these changes, if we didn't vote yes on any portion of those, we cannot amend them, and even if we say no, they're going to be required of us, correct? Okay. So I just want to make sure we're clear on that. So with that, Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Jack, thank you for that report. I've got just a couple of quick questions for you. When you were talking about meeting the requirements for the stormwater runoff, I'm going to presume you were talking primarily of the city catch basins and what have you. My concern is about the private ones, especially the one down, as we all know now, down on Bridgeport Way. Where does that fit into the MPDS program, and what responsibilities do we have going forward to at least monitor that particular, or any of our private basins?
So the private ones, it is the way they wrote the titles make that one section feel like that should be for private developments, but that one is, like you mentioned, is basically our city system. Private developments are covered under both controlling runoff from new development, redevelopment, construction sites. And when it says new development, it also covers anything that was developed since NPDS applied to the city. And so that's part of it for existing developments. And then also under the source control program for existing developments. And that source control means making sure any potential contaminants are addressed at the source level. Okay. So that's where they're covered. And so in those, there is a requirement for annual inspections of private facilities and certainly the facility at the Harvest Ridge location and any other private neighborhood would fall under that. I believe our requirement is 80. What is the annual requirement for private?
85%?
85% a year.
Okay, so that's on our radar screen.
Yep.
Okay, my second question, you were talking about the tree canopy, which I thought is new, but maybe not.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So deciduous versus evergreen. You know, as the city has evolved and developed over time, majority of the trees we replaced were evergreens with deciduous. So we get a partial canopy during the year, but not a full canopy any longer. So with that said, you know, how does that affect this program, and how do we as a city mitigate that?
That's a good question, and it's a question that Todd and I have had as well, because it's they have a requirement for us to do the mapping of the tree canopy and to develop strategies on what that means for the city, and then they don't provide any guidance of what they expect us to do with it. So it'll be a bit of a discovery process for all of us, but we'll use basically the, you know, there'll be some research on our end to see what's going to be the most effective way of both documenting it and developing a plan if there is some, you know, additional trees that need to be planted and so forth.
So does that give us as a city latitude then to develop our own policies on how we manage that canopy going forward?
Yes. It's a yes with a big asterisk. Where we develop it, there is a level where ecology will then review it and say, yeah, that meets it, or they think it doesn't. But generally, as long as we meet the intent and document our efforts, it does give us quite a bit of flexibility.
Okay. Opportunity there. Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Councilmember Fleming. You kind of led into my comment. So the tree canopy thing, as you remember, I'm part of this climate action conversation thing, and one of the things I have is discussing grant opportunities related to the federal climate grants. One of them is for tree canopy. And I would encourage that if that interests our city at all in seeking grant funding in the future to implement tree canopy, because yes, we do have some, but you mentioned it's deciduous in many areas, or is mentioned that way, and also that it's there's areas which just don't have as much, especially thinking of the north side of our city. If we can document our tree canopy, add it to a climate action plan, which is strongly recommended for any number of reasons for seeking grant opportunities, I suggest we do that sooner than 2028 because some of these grants are time limited. That's my comment, my thought on the process. Thank you.
Sounds good. That'd be great.
Very good. Councilmember McCluskey.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I was honing in on the tree canopy thing as well, especially for the deciduous trees. If we do aerial scoping and mapping, you know, it's optimal to do it where? In the summertime, right? But that may not get a truer picture because we have the higher particulate rate in our city in the winter when we have less canopy exposure for that. So it all depends, and they're not really telling you what they're driving at, so you could kind of focus your research and to give them the right answer. Because it sounds like they're tightening in on their outcomes of their policies with some of these new additions that they're doing. They're getting down into the weeds and the details. You know, are they hierarchy of streets? You know, I don't think we do residential streets, and they have significant runoff as well. So it's kind of fascinating because when they have these, they're fishing for something, and you know, there's going to be more rules and regulations. So I'm always curious as to what they're looking at the end of the day, which of course is cleaner water going into our Puget Sound. That's the goal. So the other part I'm excited about, the public education piece, partnering with the health department. They're always a wonderful partner, so I'm glad that is continuing. And also, climate is part of the Growth Management Act, and so we had approved that as a city, so we may have something for the climate controls and a policy in place. We may need to tweak it in order to meet some of those grants and things. So I'm curious, after Mayor Pro Tem's comments, as to what we can do to pursue those things, because that is a topic of significance in several different organizations that impact our city and our city's policies and how we drive the direction of our city. That's percolating, as you know, up to becoming a big deal in the future. And I'm also curious about some of these off things that happen to impact our surface water runoff into the sound. For example, during our rainy season with the homes that are doing the sump pumps. You know, they're pumping out water into the streets, and you know, sometimes it's overloaded, and they're flooding our streets. And they have no controls. The people that have the sump pumps, you know, they're not really aware of, I'm sure, what they're doing and how they could contaminate the Puget Sound. And, you know, we don't permit them, obviously, but maybe an educational component to them if you happenstance know that they have a sump pump. You know, they're going to buy a sump pump and let the city know for sure. But if you see a sump pump pumping in the street and it is flooding our streets, I think a conversation with the homeowner is warranted at that time. Same way with the pool water discharge and the dechlorination of that. You know, those pools and the spas and things, that could be a huge impact as well. So annually, especially for the home spa owners with the jacuzzis. And since they're doing all these aerial mappings and things, would we do mappings of pools and spas? Is that coming up next, or is that a benefit at the end of the day? I don't know if that's really a city being micromanagers, but so if it is a significant driver, then yes, we should be concerned. If it's not a significant driver, then you know, probably not. So I'll conclude my comments with that.
Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor Figueroa. A couple of things. First off, which agency are we responding to? Is this EPA or is it Environmental Protection Agency or Department of Ecology?
So Department of Ecology is we hold the permit through them.
Okay.
And so then they're responsible to make sure their permit that they issue complies with the federal requirements, but we report only to the state.
All right. Do you happen to know if that is managed by the oversight for the state, EPA, or is it somewhere?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious about the line of authority as we get through there. All right. And so the addition of the tree canopy, interesting. We seem to have a process without a goal. And it makes me think there's a goal in mind. We just don't get to understand it yet. And we may well develop our own policies. Certainly we have the ability to do that. Is this in terms of the tree canopy mapping, we need to get it done by 2028, the end of 2028. Is that, do you think that's $10,000, $20,000, $100,000?
Right now, the mapping itself, we plan to do in-house with our own. We have folks that are knowledgeable with the GIS system, and so we want to use our staff and then also the resources from the county GIS folks to be able to do it in-house.
Yeah.
There may need to be some additional analysis, but I don't know if I'll know the scope of that until we have it fully kind of mapped.
Okay. So using existing resources, using a different, including personnel, might need a couple of special this or that's, but it's not seen as a large task at this point. So, okay. All right. Just trying to figure out how much that's costing us for the unknown goal. And though the information may well be valuable to us, and there are things we could potentially do with it. If I remember right, we have approximately 24 private facilities in terms of stormwater facilities. Does that sound right?
We have more than that.
More than that? Okay.
It's our total number of private. So of the ponds themselves, it's about a dozen, and then we had some other. So I think you're right that the 2 dozen was more of like the detention and treatment facilities, but then we have a lot of private just storm systems in general.
Yeah, I was thinking more about detention and treatment. Okay. And so with those 2 dozen out there, there's quite a few that end up, and we require annual inspections. We get a copy of that inspection report, and the owner, which is, say, the private development, is responsible for the cost of that.
Yeah.
Cost of the inspection. Okay. Great. So that's really quite a few places that get to do that.
And just to clarify, that they're responsible for the cost of the inspections that are like for a certification. We don't charge for like when Todd inspects theirs.
You don't charge for what, did you say?
We don't charge them when the city inspects theirs, but they would be responsible for the cost of the professional certification.
Okay, so we go out and provide a free inspection. Do we have multiple? Do we go out to the same facility multiple times in the course of a year to see if they've done it right?
Typically once a year, unless there was a problem.
An enforcement question.
And then we'd have to do like
And do we have the ability to collect our costs then?
Yes. So if it's an enforcement, we have two venues there. There are both a civil penalty that could be if they're not complying, and then if we had to take any like hard action or something.
Okay. So the citizens overall don't have to pay for someone who is not fulfilling their obligations.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And that's all tied into our stormwater plan here. So I'm just trying to get that straightened out in my head. Thank you. One of the things that I'm still a little baffled by is the annual update nature of this plan. There are many plans we do, many plans, and I can't recall, well, perhaps with the exception of our annual capital list associated with street construction, which is really kind of different than this. I don't recall anything else that's annual. Am I forgetting something?
Yeah, like the only thing that really comes to mind, like you had mentioned, the 6-year TIP.
Yeah.
But yeah, this...
The rolling 6 years, we keep adjusting it. We also take things off the list when they get done and put new things on as priorities shift.
So this one, it's a requirement with the, I think from the ecology, it checks a couple boxes, both for just making sure our program is up to date and meeting each year's kind of milestones. But then also it adds and it checks one of the public participation and involvement kind of. So it opens the door, so to speak, for additional comments from the public. So, but yeah, it does seem, especially some years where it's status quo, where all we're doing is changing the dates. It's a little bit monotonous sometimes.
Yeah, it usually is. And the reason I'm dragging this around is, what if we were to see if we could change this to a less frequent update? It sounds like something that someone could potentially fix if it's on the state side of the question, which was the reason I wanted to figure out if it was Department of Ecology, a state agency, or EPA, a federal agency. So
I believe it's driven by the state.
Yeah.
It's not a federal requirement.
Yeah, it just seems a lot of energy, a lot of your time and others. But there are good things to come from it. We certainly want the sound to be healthy. We certainly want our environment to be healthy as well. I just don't know that we need to reread it, redo it every single year. Okay. Thank you, Jack.
Good. Anyone else?
Just one thing, if I could add.
Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to get a couple of clarifications for myself. That you said that we are adding, or we're up to the 11 required elements for this program. And as I was thinking, I was tracking, it sounded as if the runway we had for any of the elements were December or so, or at least 2027 was the earliest. Is that fair to say? Any challenge at all with anything that we might have to respond to that we don't have appropriate runway in your view that might be prior to 2027?
I think the earliest is the July of 27 requirement, and that's the street sweeping program. So because we're already ahead of the game on the physical elements of it, I feel pretty comfortable with meeting that.
I appreciate that. You had intimated that we were pretty much ahead of the game in a number of different areas, and I kept getting comfortable more and more with every time you said that. So I appreciate that clarification. And then the other thing that sort of gave me pause, and that was really what was around essentially the tree canopy discussion, it being a new element, if you will, and the expectation of, what that might mean. I'm intrigued that much more by Councilmember Worthington's comment about we've got a purpose but no goal, and what could that mean? I'm also of the opinion that we also want to make lemonade out of lemons, and so as I think about Mayor Pro Tem's expectation about, the funds that we're looking for and associate everything we can with climate impacts, there may be some opportunity through what also may be a monotonous sort of update on an annual basis. I think I heard the gist of that. So I was just hopeful that if there was really any responsibilities that you sense that we have as a council, as it relates to a tree canopy or even the private development responsibility impact, because as the mayor led with, if we change any of this, it really puts us in, somewhat of a compromising position. So I really want to be sure that there's nothing that we're missing. There really isn't anything that should be a cautionary tale for us that I've heard based upon subsequent conversation and dialogue that the council raised here.
Right now, I don't see a lot of red flags other than a little more hoops for us to jump through.
Okay.
But,
we can jump through hoops, so we're okay with that.
Yeah. There could be, like Councilmember McCluskey indicated, there's always what's around the next bend, right? So there'll be something in the next, there's always something more that gets added to it. So that's, as this permit progresses, we'll get more indications probably from the ecology of what their next emphasis is going to be, and that's kind of when we then have to start kind of preparing like we did this last time to be ready for the new permit.
Okay. Thank you so much. Mayor, that's my only comments and question.
Okay, thank you.
One more.
Anyone else before we go second round? Nope. Councilmember McCluskey.
Right. Thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious about this with ours, because we have the street sweepers. Do we take an analysis of the things that we accumulate off the street? I know we do analysis of what comes out of our stormwater, right? So when we sweep the streets, I'm sure there's a certain protocol that we have to have because it's contaminated. Do we do an analysis of that, of what we glean off the street?
We
as
do.
well with the...
One of the things that'll have to change is operationally and tracking-wise is right now we generally put any type of potentially contaminated material, like the material we take out of the street or any solid waste we suck out of a catch basin or anything that has that potential for contamination. It goes into the same location. And then it gets tested, and we have a permit through the health department, a solid waste handling permit. And so we, every time we send it off, we have to have a test to show what, if it's contaminated, what the level is, and then that also dictates where we can send it. And so we do test it, but under the new program, we will have to kind of do separate the sources a little bit just so we can better
so they know
quantify
where
the street
contaminants,
sweeping.
right? Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so I have a few comments. So do our swim fees pay for the required contributions to the collective funds?
Yes.
That's where the money comes from? Okay. And then also, I do like the comment that Councilmember Worthington said, and that was that he made a comment, but I'd like to hear feedback from you, and that is, what actions can we take, if any, to change the annual reporting differently?
I think the opportunity to do that would be when they're going to be set in they've adopted, or they've basically adopted this new permit cycle, and so they're not going to want to change course midstream, so to speak. Our next opportunity would be, they usually start opening up comments for the next permit cycle about 2 years before the permit's due. So probably 26, maybe, we can start providing some comments to council, or not council, to ecology, to just say that's that's something they could look at. But that's that would be the venue, I think, that we could.
So how do we schedule it so that we remind ourselves to have this conversation 3 years from now?
Fine.
So if you can help us, I'm not sure how that can be, but hopefully that can be, whoever's still here, remind those folks, okay, that should maybe be considered.
Right.
The other one is, I know that we have to have a public hearing, but after that, can we put this in consideration or still, in consent, or does it have to have a full consideration?
Traditionally, what we've done is at the public hearing, you then also hold your consideration, so it's all done at the same time.
Okay. Matt, did you have any comment?
You could do it via consent, but as Jack has outlined, that is the more efficient way to do it.
Okay, good enough. And I think we have one more council member with a hand up, and Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. When you mentioned swim fees, that reminded me of a concern I have. We seem to get, as they redo these permits, they seem to be adding requirements. Is there any way, well, when we get into the comment period for the next go-round, if you could help the council identify areas where we can start working with our state legislatures and state leadership of things that maybe can drop off, instead of adding yet more requirements without taking anything off, so instead of increasing fees, we can just live within a budget. That would be my ideal. So if you could think about that going forward, so in 2026, when we approach this, it'd be very nice to be able to say, okay, if you want to add on X, talking about things coming around the bend, what can we just drop off the requirement list and say, maybe we just don't need to do that one anymore. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
So one last comment, we should encourage our local legislators up there to be on the, I forget what they call it, but certain legislators get in certain committees that includes ecology. Whatever that committee is, we should encourage them to be on that committee, because that's who's going to really have a voice, especially if he or she is the chair. So that's what I will be talking to our legislators about in the next couple of years. And especially, I think they're going to be visiting us in April, so hopefully we can make that comment. Somebody here, or all of us. Anything else? And I think the direction is to move forward to bring forth a public hearing and a consideration. Is that what your request is?
Yep.
Anyone opposed to that direction? None? We're all clear?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good. So with that, we have the next study session, number 11, and it's council retreat. And in the council retreat we're talking about, we should have be a little bit more clearer, and that is the upcoming council retreat that is, or retreats that will be leading to the 25-26 council goals. And do we have a screenshot of this? Just that? We don't have anything on the screen? Okay. So I need to get to it, so give me some time here. Okay, so with that, if everybody would go to the council, it's the last page. Okay, we're all there?
Yes.
Good, thank you. So we did this because, as you know, the council, my duties is to set us up and tee us up for what the council is looking forward to do and doing our business, and the council goals coming up. So with a lot of staff assistance, we came up with this retreat planning timeline that I wanted to share with you. We wanted to share with you so that you understand what's coming up and how it's going to unfold. And hopefully with that, what I'm looking for This is no action, no resolution or anything. It's more of a report and feedback from council to see if this is the direction that you would like to go in establishing our 25-26 council goals. Okay, and in basic, I'm just going to go down the list, and that is, and I said it earlier on the 29th, we had a commission appreciation luncheon. It was the #1 issue to advance within the commissions. We also made comment several times that that we're seeking input, feedback from them that will lead into ideas, strategies into the 25-26 council goals. And this was just the kickoff. One of the reasons we did this, because several comments came from several folks, council members as well as others, and that is, that including commissioners, that maybe they weren't feeling valuable or asked how they can help and assist and advise. And I thought this whole process was a very good way to, this particular luncheon was to get them to be involved. And it looked like it really worked because they were very happy that they were asked, and they participated. And with the follow-up of the liaisons to work with each commission to get additional feedback, then that will be then cleared through our city attorney and staff to make sure, for example, it's not a duplicate. Maybe it's just saying it differently, but something that's already been done and that they weren't aware of. And so make sure it's not a duplicate or something that's against our policy or state or laws or something like that. And once those are cleared, and there is a timeline for them to report back, I think it's a couple of weeks, then they would be, staff would then proceed to forward those to us. On March 4th, there is a council retreat planning and overview study session, which is today, and this is what we're going through. The 5th, there's going to be an email from the city manager to the council requesting topics and goals to be discussed at the retreat. And they're due on March 19th, giving you a couple of weeks. And again, part of that is what we're looking forward to is when we get to the retreat is that we're looking at things that have been cleared for repetition or something that's already been said that we can't do, but it's not to say no to any ideas, but to let that particular council member through meetings or in other ways communicating to the council a better way to present this so that when you as a council member want to advocate for that idea, you have a little bit more resource and information, ammunition to advocate why this is an important issue and it can be a possibility. So those are due on 3/19. On 3/12 through 14, there's going to be individual check-ins with council seeking feedback, individual check-ins with staff, liaisons to receive ideas from commissioners, and then on the 19th, they're going to be due, and the list will be compiled by 1 o'clock. Then the staff, along with Mayor Pro Tem and I, will be meeting with Michael Pennington, which you know who he is, to go through that planning meeting. And then after that, on March 25th through April the 5th, a topics and goals list completed and sent to council for review, and individual check-ins with council on any last changes. That way, all the council members see what their peers are thinking about, and they get a head start to having a lively discussion at the retreat. After that, we have on April the 9th is the last retreat planning meeting with Michael Pendleton, and then we have our council retreat on April the 13th. And after that, we have a May council retreat on May 4th and a June final council retreat June 8th. To highlight June 8th final council retreat, and I do have to thank Councilmember Worthington for this focus because it's going to take two retreats to really finalize what we want. And on the May council retreat is really the final. And when we say this is where we're heading, we all agree, is then the staff will go out and see, okay, is there monies for this? Is there funds for this? Is there any hiccups where this just can't happen, either because that's going to require tons of staff, it's going to be whatever the case may be, monies and so forth, or it needs grants and we can't get the grants now. Any one of those things, they will come back on in June and say where the hiccups are and any one of these topics that we may want to look at, and then we do our final adjustments. And we'll do our final adjustments based on their feedback, and hopefully we'll finalize it then to the point we'll bring it forth for consideration. So I'm done with my report and update, and I'm up for questions and answers. And again, staff, Lisa has been very much involved. Lisa Perterick has been involved. Steve Sugg and Matt have all been involved with this planning, and so has Mayor Pro Tem. So with that, I'd like to entertain any concerns, questions. Councilmember McCluskey.
Yeah, thank you. What was the number one issue with the commissions?
The number one issue was, see if I can actually quote it. What's the number one issue you want to advance from your commission? You know, what they're doing at their work plan, and so pick number one issue and that you would like to see advance in our city, and then we'll kind of see if that can become a goal.
Okay, so there wasn't anything identified yet. They were just...
Oh, no, it's just a brainstorm. It's just like kickoff. This needs to still be vetted with the liaisons and vetted later on, but that's just to kind of keep it going.
Yeah, I wish I could have attended that, but it's during the day, and that's sometimes difficult. In the evening would have been better. And there's a lot of retreats coming up every month. Hopefully some of these could be on a Monday.
Well, again, that's why I'm asking for your feedback.
That alternate Monday to save some of the Saturdays. I have family events coming up on Saturdays regularly. Kids are in sports.
I understand. We all have something to do.
I understand that, but if we have the opportunity not to, use a Saturday, because, staff overtime and food preps and everything, if we could do it on a Monday. I would, because 3 hours on because we have those alternate Mondays that were saved as a study session outside of a regular council meeting, and to use those. So we could save those precious weekends. That's my only comment. I like how the outline is all set up. It's detailed. There's expectations there and timeline set up. So I like that. A lot of feedback, external feedback coming in for the finalizations. I enjoy seeing that. And I'm always interested in not only our council members' ideas, but also our commissioners and our staff. So thank you for putting this together.
You're welcome. And before we go to the next one, just as this is about getting your feedback about anything, and that's one of them. But just remember that, and I thought about it, and we talked about it about at the study session, but both council retreats are 5-6 hour long, okay? And so in order to get the work done. And the most we could probably do in a study session, if we just contribute the whole entire study session on just one, would be like 2 hours max. So, and it's impossible to contribute to the retreat goal setting two or three times in a row and on a Mondays, because we have other business to do. But again, it's the council's wishes, but just keep that in mind as you weigh in on that.
Yeah. Why is it taking so many hours to do these
based
discussions?
On,
in the past it hadn't been this intensive. So I'm just curious
Good
as
question.
to. I'll put in the time, definitely whatever choices, the Monday study sessions or these retreats. But I'm just curious as to what is the, why it was more significant to create more time intensity to get to some of these outcomes for our final vote on, what's going to happen in the next couple of years.
Good question. And again, my view of being on the council for 14 years now and going through quite a bit of retreats, we've gone at least through 2 of them, and with several hours, and we've never really completed. We said yes, but if you remember, we even ended up with some study sessions trying to clarify what that we really want. What was it that we meant in any one topic, and especially the financial part. There was several times that some of those topics could not be. So we had a rollover. It wasn't until the following year we said, well, that wasn't really clear about the monies or where we wanted to be going. So I wanted to, when we finished, that we had the proper time given to really to really vet this out. So I'll move on, but I want to make sure that you
So if
understand.
we don't need that time, we don't need to take it then?
No, correct.
Okay.
If we're done by May with
All right, council.
everything, but again, knowing how busy we are, I wanted to put all this, and maybe they could be, placeholders, but certainly something that needs to be done. Now, I'll move on, and we can, at the end, see where the direction we want to go with the meetings. Right. So, Councilmember Fleming.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Worthington.
I too want to just echo, I like what you've laid out here. It's a good plan. It's a good direction. Helps us kind of focus on where we need to go. Having said that, I would also echo what Councilmember McCluskey said. I'd rather use my Monday nights that we set aside for study sessions and retreat versus spending it every weekend, every month. I think there's a balance in there we've got to find on how we balance our duties. Certainly duties as council are a priority, duties to family are priorities. And I think we can accomplish both by using our Monday nights versus our Saturdays. So if you're looking for feedback, I love what you got. I just shift it to a Monday night and roll on because I think this is good stuff.
Just before we move on to Councilman Worthington, just for feedback, so I can hear feedback, and that is, I thought was, can we start earlier, like 6 o'clock, and during those times to give us a bit more time was one idea. Sure. Again, to give that as I'm giving some feedback back. And the other one was maybe we can do one full day, and the other 2 we can do by extending the meeting and go from there. It's just food for thought. So, Councilmember Worthington.
Sure. Thank you. And Mayor Figueroa, thank you for laying this out and appreciate your interest in getting feedback and comments. And you and the staff team have given us some good indication of how to move things forward. Mayor, I remember when you and I were chatting towards the end of last year and talking about, so I was just finishing up my term as mayor, in some of the things that could be different. And the budget process is one of them. We had tried to, or at least I had tried to implement some of this last time, but it didn't quite get there. And where it fell short was in this 3rd meeting. And so I think, as you just said, that first meeting's probably an all-day deal because you have all these ideas coming together, and there could be 20, and we need to prioritize them, and it takes a while. Even though Michael Pendleton has a good process, it still takes a little while. And it takes a little while sometimes just to understand what the projects are because you need to have some conversation on it. That second meeting is meant, my recall, and this is one of the things I wanted to ask you about, was the second meeting currently listed here for May 4th, was meant for staff to respond to those ideas and say, okay, you want to underground all the power lines in University Place? We can do that. It's about 15 years and $3 billion. And so we get to swallow hard and go, that's a lot of money, that's a long time, is that worth it? And maybe it is. We don't, who knows? But we need they need to tell us how much. Not exactly how much, but, in the ballpark. so we can make an informed decision. And then we can decide where that falls in priorities. And the third meeting is really to finalize those priorities as we sort through them. So it's possible those second two might be a 2 or 3 hour Monday night session. I don't know. And if they can be, I'm all for that too, as well. But whatever we need to get the job done. But ideally, come the June 8th date, if not that meeting, the intent there, if I understand from what you had talked to me about, was that on June 8th, we can turn over to the city manager, here's our list of priorities, here's a list of supporting projects that we think are good ideas, now see if you can put them in the budget. Because starting from June up until September, he and his team start meshing that into programs and budgets into the city's draft budget. And this is something we need to do on biennial budget years, and that's where we're at. So, but that's what you and I had discussed about, and so I wanted to just see if that was the case. So,
It is the case. And again, it's hard to get all this together. That's why I wanted to bounce all this off again, just to clarify and make sure that we're all on the same page. Before I make any more comments, I want to make sure everybody's heard. So, Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. Just along with what Councilmember Worthington was saying, I really like the idea of the last meeting or two meetings where the staff provides feedback, not just cost, but also time. And I think that will help us set the number of priorities. Because if we have, for the last 2-year term, we had decided 5 priorities, and it's kind of a random thing. You're saying, well, we think we can accomplish 5. But if 3 of them could have been accomplished in 2 months, say, that's obviously wasn't the case, but if 3 of them, then we could perhaps have more priorities. Or if we have 3 very hard, long priorities, then maybe we only want 3. So being able to rack and stack, both in terms of just what we want to see for the city, potential cost, and how long it would take to implement them, I think that is going to be very valuable for our city. And then when it comes to budget, I also want us to make sure we understand, this is something I've learned in my last 2 years here, is it's not just about money, it's also about staff time. And so part of that process needs to be, okay, we can do that priority, but we're going to have to hire somebody to manage it, or a half-time FTE, or we're going to have to prioritize this employee away from this task towards this one, and having an understanding of what that will look like, I think will also help us set priorities. So, thank you.
Councilmember Boykin.
Mayor, I just appreciate having the transparency and expectation of how we're going to move through this process. It is really beneficial to me to understand even the anecdotal impact based upon really being a space where we need to offer something up, staff needs to react to it, help us react to it, kind of rein us in, or have us be clear about we don't want to be reined in, find it, as well as the expectation of what those impacts are, and then being clear that we've got a process for even bringing that to closure with this third meeting, if you will. So this is just really beneficial to me. I'm in. Just let me know when we're going, what time we're supposed to be there, and what's next. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for putting this together. I know this takes a lot of work. I do want to echo the sentiments of the Saturdays. I think it's important to, hold those a little bit closer to our chest for people that do have families and commitments. However, I do think there's a benefit to having some difference of time. I think a lot of us can be fresher in the morning. I know I do my best thinking in the morning, kind of. So it would be a nice mix to have something where we start off strong on a Saturday morning, and then have the other option to continue. And I'm all for starting earlier on a Monday night as well, even if it needs to be 5:30 or so. But I also think it's important to, give options to our public that want to participate and come and hear, and our commissioners as well. So the variety is always good too, to be able to look at a schedule and know that that might not work for someone, but this might work, and give our brains another time frame to work in as well. So thank you.
Okay. So based on what I heard, all day for our first retreat. Now, keep in mind, I think this is really doable for the 2 or 3 hours on a Monday, starting at 5:30 or whatever. We're going to have that conversation here in a little bit. But we all need to do our part, because one of the reasons we're doing this email out and working with you and with individual council members and making sure their ideas are not repetitive, they're doable, all that. The more you can communicate with staff to your thoughts and ideas and clean that up as much as possible, the better conversation we're going to have on the retreat, that we get to the point that we're pretty much 90% there, and maybe 100% there, and so that the next retreat will be a study session time, that in 2 or 3 hours, staff can tell us, okay, this is what we can do with the staff, or you're going to have to hire more, or the monies are available, and so on that study session time on a Monday, with another study session time finalizing our final projects and topics, because we've heard from them what we can actually afford, or staff can be provided for those projects with a consideration after that. That's what I heard. Mm-hmm. So anyone that has any other thoughts? Okay, so now I'd like to get maybe a little bit more clarification. That is, I know we have some topics coming up on a study session. I can't just take them out. They need to be studied, and my memory takes me back to almost probably a good hour and a half that we'll need to at least allow for some other topics to talk about. We normally have 2 hours, so I'm thinking that if we gave ourselves another hour and a half, which puts us to maybe a 5:30 meeting. But I know that some of us can. Is there any issues with anyone starting at 5:30? Yes, ma'am.
I don't have any problem with starting at 5:30. But if we want to be more relaxed, having it on an alternate Monday. So we come in, so our agenda is not impacted at all, because we keep that integrity for all the important issues.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And then, right, because we have it where the alternate Mondays are study sessions. We have condensed and refined our process so much, we just do it the 2 Mondays. But just use one of those other Mondays to come together, and that way, that's all we do. We come in, we study that, and then we leave. And we could have like 4 hours there.
Right. No, I understand. Thank you. That's a good clarification. And before we move on to some noddings of the heads, I need to ask council here, if what do we call that? A special study session?
It'd still be a special meeting, just like your Saturday retreats would be if you wanted to use one of the off Mondays. And you do have the 2nd and 4th Mondays of every month that are still available for that. And in April, there are 5 Mondays in polling the calendar. So you do have that 5th Monday if you want to turn it around in time for the month of April.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be a Monday back-to-back, because, as you saw, it's going to be different months. Right. So if what I'm suggesting at this point, yes, before I move on, go ahead. That's fine. This is why we're studying it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that way, because I, as a council member, have always made sure all my Monday evenings were available. Just because there's an emergent need that happens or something, it's there. I've never scheduled anything on a Monday. So this is really doable and can be really eased into my schedule to do that.
I think everybody's agreeing to that. Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you. And I think it's a good idea, but it does take pre-notice, because I know on my schedule, I do have some Monday commitments out of town at night in other jurisdictions, because I thought they were free. And so with enough notice, I can schedule. But,
so we'll definitely, in this case, is have staff to send us and see which Mondays. There are some those Mondays, the off Mondays, I'll call it, and see which ones would actually work And again, it's not going to be back-to-back because there's time that staff needs to work things out. But I think, based on what I'm hearing, is doable that staff will find certain Mondays that we all will be present. Okay? And with that, even though it's contributed solely to that, since it is, I should say, I'd like to look at maybe as early as possible that we all are available, that way we're not here at 9 o'clock. And if we need like 3 hours, does that mean like we start at 5 and end at 8, or we start earlier? So it's just some feedback on that. I'm a little bit more freer than others, but those that do have a schedule, this is a good time to let me know. So staff will, I know like Mayor Pro Tem, what's the earliest you comfortably can be here?
Comfortably, I would say 5:30 would be my earliest.
So 5:30. Anyone else? 5:30?
I just want, for the record, to show that 5:30 is probably the earliest. If there is a concerted effort and I'm the only one that cannot make by 5 o'clock, let me know and I can see if I can talk things over with my other bosses.
Anyone else over here? 5:30 is okay? 5:30. If we do with 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, 8:30 is fine, and that's 3 hours, and I think that we can figure it out. So I think that's what I needed, and it'll work. Believe me, I didn't want Saturdays, but I also didn't want to start taking up a bunch of Mondays. So I like the feedback, and staff, Steve, if you can work with your staff to, and we will talk in agenda time and how we're going to get this out and which Mondays and all that, so that they're spread out. And I did hear Councilman Worthington about the second meeting. I'm hoping, and again, that can only happen, the second retreat can only happen if the first retreat, we have all day, if we did our prep work, we'll be able to really get down to the nitty-gritty projects that we can send forward. I think we can do that. But if it's not at the end, and we're all like scratching our heads and we don't like it, we're not agreeing, that's going to stretch out somehow or another. And we can talk about it then and take care of it. So if everybody fine with that? Okay, Steve, when we get to agenda item, Mayor Pro Tem? Okay. All right, we're good. So with that, we're done and I adjourn the study session.
Yes. Listen to recycle funds?